Hello guys, and welcome to this hands-on session on displaying your data. Okay, so if I'll just start off with highlighting the labels statement and with the label option that I just took you through. Let's just start off by running a quick proc contents on the data set that we want to use. So proc contents data equals udemy.product-type. Then just run this. Then let's create a new data called data product underscore type underscore L for label, and by reading in the udemy.product underscore type data set. And now let's use the label statement to define a few labels. So product key, we could use it for code for the product. Okay, and product type, we could use it, say, describe it, for example, I don't know, category of the product, okay, as an example. So, close this data step and then just proc print this, data equals product type L. Sorry, proc frac this. Let's use proc frac rather than proc print. So data equals product underscore type underscore L. And now what we want to tabulate is, we want to get the frequencies for the product type. So notice how we're specifying the variable. And now what happens when we run it? What happens is that what you get is the not the variable but the label. If you see sort of category of the product, that's a bit down there, so let me just remove that proc content so that you guys can see a bit better. So yeah, if we just run that, you basically see that rather than the proc frac, when we tabulate the product type, rather than using the variable itself, it uses the descriptive or the label that we assign to that variable. Okay. Now a second useful tip is the use of formats. So let me just change that to SAS formats. So we just covered this during our previous lecture very quickly. So now I'm going to demonstrate that. So if we just start off by creating the format, and in order to do this we use proc format, and then use the value statement, in this case to specify that I want to create a store format. Okay, and what I want it to do, I want this format to map the store code or the store key to a store descriptive. In this case I'm just going to use store number 1 for example. Okay. And likewise, I want it for the second store to map out, sort of the store code to, store number 2. So let me just change that. Close off that value statement. And let's now create a new format. So the store was a character variable, or sorry, a character format, and now we want to create a numeric format actually. So we're not going to use the $ in front of this quant format, and what we want to do is we want to use the keyword low to specify from the lowest possible value this variable takes on all the way up to 2. We want to create this descriptive, less than 2. If the quantity is between 2.01 and 5, we want to describe it, or want it to be displaying as 2 to 5. And if the quantity is greater than 5, all the way up to the highest value, we want just to display 5 or more than 5. Okay, so we run this, so we close this data set, and then if we proc print this, so let's proc print, say, the retail underscore purchases dataset that has all the transactions. Just a few of these observations, so perhaps 100. But what we want to do is we want the display to take on these formats. So we specify via the format statement, we say, hey, for the store key, use the store format, the character format, and for the quantity variable, use the quant format. You need to put a dot after the quant so that SAS knows it's referring to a format and not, say, a variable. Okay, so if we just run that, oops, I got an error. So that's okay. There you go. So it's telling me, hey, you've got a typo there. So let me just rerun that. And there you go, guys. So that's the output. So you see that the store key no longer has the actual code, and the quantity no longer has the actual value, but rather they actually have the descriptives that we've created for those. So 2 to 5, less than 2, store number 1, store number 2, what have you. So really useful tool, if you want to just display your data in a more user-friendly way, or if you just want to interpret it in a bit better. Okay, it's a really useful tip. So now if we go on to the next code, and we want to illustrate proctabulate. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to take you through a few examples. Okay, so we just need the proctabulate, and we want to tabulate the retail underscore purchases data set. Okay, so let me make sure I don't get that wrong. So data equal reaches purchases underscore comb because it's standing for combined, where I've already added the product category to the actual data set. Okay, so let's say we want to we basically always need to tabulate the variables or to class the variables that we want to tabulate. So in this case, you need to go class store underscore key and then product underscore type, and then I want to tabulate the store key and the product type. Okay, which is coming from this retail underscore comp data set, which, like I mentioned, already has the product type added to it. So it probably came out from the SQL join that I ran earlier. Okay, so if we go back to proctabulate, and then just run this code. It's telling me I've got an error. Also quite useful to demo this. So there you go. I've got a typo there. So let me just correct that. Rerun this, and there you go, the output. So you've got for each of your variables that you've basically specified, you've got the number of transactions coming for each of those variables. So they can see that for store 199 you get such and such transactions, and what have you for the others as well. Okay, so really useful tool to just inspect your data and display some of the features in your data. Okay, so now let's continue, and now what we want to do is, so we always need to specify the class variable for the variables that you want to tabulate, or the class statement, sorry, for the variables that you want to tabulate. And now what we want to do is we want to tabulate store key, but also with the overall picture, i.e. the totals, and to do this we just need to add the all keyword. So let's run that. And what you see is that you get pretty much the same information as earlier. So you get the totals, but you actually get the individual sort of details on how do the store key and the product type variables tabulate together, basically. Okay, so now continuing, if we want to also continuing with our tabulation and showing you some more possibilities of proctabulate, again need to specify via the class statement the variables that I want to tabulate. And now I want to tabulate the store key with the product type. Okay, and run this. This is also another useful operator, this asterisk, to basically cross two variables. Okay, so there you go. We've got store key, and for each store key, you've got each product type, and you've got the figures there. So it's pretty much a different way to display the results that you previously had, except that you haven't got the overall totals there. But yeah, just another alternative and another useful operator, the asterisk operator for two-way tabulation basically. Now if we go proc tabulate, class store key product type, and now we want to actually add some variables, so we need to use the var statement. So we want to use or tabulate the spend and the quantity, and then we're going to go table and then open bracket store underscore key all, and cross table this with the product type all, and then a comma, and then spend and quantity, so between brackets specify my variables, okay, and use the asterisk operator to specify the figure that I want to compute, in this case the mean. Okay, so if I just do that, I get basically the for each store and for each product type within each store, the mean spend and the mean quantity. Okay, so there you go, guys. It's a really useful tips in trick if you just want to quickly display your data, aggregate your data, and just get a feel for your data. And that's pretty much it on this first session. So I'll see you in the next lecture.